Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm going to pick up where our honourable leader just left off. It always comes down to home for me. And it's friends and families, and it's the communities in Caribou, Prince George, or across our country that are impacted by the tens of thousands of jobs that have been lost. A little input for, or information for our colleagues across the way. I worked in logging. I ran skidder and I ran chainsaw for a time. I bucked for a time. I'm proud to maybe be one of the only ones in this house that knows what it's like to have white bread sandwiches with chain oil on my hand and go out to the blocks early in the morning. And I remember a time when our communities were dotted with signs that said, "This family proudly supported by forestry." And what we're seeing now in the 10 years, where our frustration lies, we've got somebody that's been here for a minute trying to say that we got selective amnesia over this. I mean, I believe he's from downtown Montreal, Madam Speaker. We have people within our ridings and within our communities that are absolutely devastated. I spoke of Lucas at 100 Mile Elementary School. These families are financially ruined. They don't have a job to go back to. These mills are our major producer. They're the major tax base for our communities. When these mills leave, these jobs leave, the families leave. Why are we angry? Why am I frustrated? Because for 10 years I've stood in this house and pressured these guys. The importance of softwood. It hasn't even been on their radar, Madam Speaker. And then this past weekend, the Prime Minister looks in the camera and says, "Who cares?" He doesn't have a burning issue. Well, Madam Speaker, this is a burning issue. It's been a burning issue for 10 years. We were promised a deal under the first Trudeau administration within 100 days. We heard of a newfound bromance between the Prime Minister and the new administration south of the border. Three administrations. 4 administrations. 3. Thank you, Madam Speaker. 3 administrations, and it hasn't been a priority. Tens of thousands of jobs have been lost. Over 200,000 jobs hang in the balance. And we have the other side saying, "Don't worry, checks in the mail." Where's the job? That's what they want. They don't want charity. My riding is made up of proud families. And there are a lot of families right now that are in communities all across our province, which you will hear from all of our colleagues that are here tonight taking part in this, that they're all impacted in it. It's very real. I appreciate the gentleman that spoke of from Madawaska Restigouche about the impact that's in his riding. But the fact of the matter is, it's his government. They can blame anybody they want. But the reality is, it falls squarely at the foot of this Prime Minister and the previous Prime Minister and this government as to why we do not have a softwood lumber agreement in place. Whether it's the regulatory burdens that they've also done in duplication, and it's absolutely ruining this industry, this once proud industry, Madam Speaker, and that is shameful. We've absolutely decimated a cornerstone industry within our country, once proud and now absolutely devastated. And we need to fight for it. They care, Madam Speaker. Forestry matters. Thank you.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
I just want to correct the honourable member. I
I may have been 1 minute in the House. I've been elected for the first time, but I've been 40 years in business, and I've done a lot of business with the pulp and paper and the forestry industry during my career. So I understand the industry very well. So they say they care. We've announced $1.25 million, including liquidity, salary help, transformation. Let me finish. And if they're so smart and they know better than us what should be and they don't want to end off, I've heard those comments, I would like to hear what they would offer. And if the answer is we would do a deal with the Americans, I would love to hear their strategy on how they would do a deal, what they will leave on the table and concede to the Americans in order to get a good deal, which is what the Prime Minister is trying to do. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honourable Member for Prince George Caribou.
Typical Liberal, Madam Speaker, typical Liberal. Deflect, deflect, put the blame on everybody else and say, what would you do? Madam Speaker, they're in government. 10 years. 10 years. 10 years they've done nothing, Madam Speaker. 10 years. We would have got a deal done. We did in our previous Conservative government. In 79 days, we got a deal done. Not only did we get a 10-year deal, but we negotiated a 1-year grace period in between, which they squandered, Madam Speaker. The failure lies squarely at their feet. And they can deflect all they want and point fingers all they want. Weak arguments, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Rimouski-la-Matapédia. Madam Speaker, it's with great pride, but also a lot of respect that I rise in the House this evening, in particular to represent the people of my region, workers, entrepreneurs, businesses that have been suffering for a long time. The forestry sector, Madam Speaker, in the Bas-Saint-Laurent, in Rimouski, Négette, La Matapédia, it's an essential sector, and the people also from the Basque region. There's something that we have to remember. When we forget the industry, when we don't support it, it's an entire region that suffers. It's an entire economy that is directly and indirectly affected. My question for my colleague, I'd like to ask him to say concretely, how could the government talk about defending our regions when they're letting the United States impose a 45% tax? That's $10 billion in illegitimate duties, and they're not offering the support that's needed. Why is the government abandoning our workers when Washington is acting in bad faith and has been now for the last 40 years?
The Honourable Member for Caribou, Prince George.
Well, the reality is, Madam Speaker, this government can't. They can't say they're standing with the forestry workers. Our honourable colleague mentioned something very appropriate. When one job is lost, the multiplier is 3 to 5 jobs that are affected. It doesn't just impact, in my riding, it doesn't just impact Quesnel or 100 Mile if a mill goes down. It impacts our whole region. It impacts the car dealerships. It impacts the food and grocery stores. It impacts real estate. It impacts schools. It impacts the tax base for those municipalities, Madam Speaker. This government abandoned the $10 billion left at the border of our forestry producers. It's their money, and they abandoned it because of some great strategic chess move or checker move or whatever it is. They thought they were going to outsmart the guy down south, but the tariffs have tripled, and that $10 billion is still sitting there, lost.
Questions and comments. The Honourable Member for Kamloops, Shuswap, Central Rockies.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And the member from Caribou, Prince George, has been passionate on this and hammering on this for over 10 years now. And I recall being back in this chamber in the other building when the trade minister at that time spoke of a framework within 100 days. We are now 106 months past that promise. I'd like to know, have the member from Caribou, Prince George, explain further why this is so important, not just to the individual jobs that are at stake here, but to the entire communities that rely on those jobs and the spin-off jobs. Thank you.
Honourable Member for Caribou, Prince George, in 10 seconds.
It's 2,900 days since that trade minister stood up and said that they would have a framework or a deal within 100 days. 2,900 days, Madam Speaker, 10 years of failure, of promising the checks in the mail, they can do this, just wait and see. They wonder why we are so frustrated, Madam Speaker.